out.
Take it from me and hope we're big, we're loud people.
Yeah, I've never been told my voice, well, that's not true, I have, but I was like, you know that I'm angry if my voice is loud.
Oh, yeah, that's when they need to watch out.
Hello, John.
Yeah, you are.
I'm Angela Castellacci. We've been emailing back and forth with the historical society. Penny, you doing okay? Was that video not just a huge?
It was.
You are, and they, so our friend that's helping us out is doing all kinds of little promos. So Santa's been running around here. We'll hopefully have some more of that. So it's good. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
I'll be there.
And I'm just here to kind of tell them about the event and invite them. That's it. And then I'm out of here.
Yep, yep.
You're gonna come up there and.
Yes, during the public, I'll get it.
Finally, nice time.
What's going on? What you do? I didn't do that.
Well, we talked about it.
And they was too wide.
We haven't said
Fine, I'll donate it.
This room was laid out by Bill.
I try to get them let me sit on there.
I heard it. You gonna buy some nice curve paper?
Yes.
You know, when I was in my day camp. Everyone can go.
It's just like.
Yeah, lady. One day I'll get tired of it, I'll trim it all back down.
It's so funny how most of the young guys are wearing shoes. Now that you're gonna have your 20 there.
And it'd be shorter.
I mean, you can't.
I told Penny she was gonna be.
Why? Why are you doing that?
Because Miss Shirley wants it farther back away for people out of their face.
All the way back in.
Here.
All the way back in.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it's just.
So that we can see,
There you go. So far.
so we can say like,
There we go.
Penny, you are hilarious. I love it. She's such an alpha male. I mean, alpha female. Sorry.
I'm not really, but
I understand.
I'll take it if no one else will. Yeah.
Slow to take over, but if you take over.
Yeah. It's just.
We have the prayer that comes to number one. Follow kind of page of the meetings.
Heavenly Father, we come to you most humbly, you know how, Lord. It's anything. Lord, I ask you right now, Lord, and move in this place, Lord, and increase each and every one of us, and you increase in us, Lord, to the business of the city. These blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes, here.
Councilmember Landry. Here. Councilmember Woodfall. Here. Vice Mayor Ketchum.
Here.
Mayor Hampton. Here. Stand.
I would like to ask what is going on there.
We were asked to move the minutes out of the consent agenda and there's nothing.
No,
else.
no. I'm talking about those ordinances to read by title only.
They didn't, oh, they got the paper in time, but they weren't published in time.
Didn't get published.
So we got to wait till next meeting.
Jesus.
Publish in time for this meeting.
It'll be on the next meeting.
Okay.
The two final readings.
Yeah, they don't know what happened.
I think it advertised for you had a meeting about. Number two. Things happen.
Yep.
It ain't a perfect world.
For none of us.
You okay now? Move on.
Yeah, ma'am.
This time we receive requests from the general public. Of a person wishing to address the council regarding non-agenda items will be given 5 minutes. Groups will be given 10. Mr. Burton.
Can you hear me? Okay. All right, I want to ask the council 2 things.
Somebody fix this line.
You gotta get pretty close to it.
All right, can you hear me now?
There you
All right, I want to ask the council 2 things. First, I want to ask if anyone has ever considered removing the grassy medians from Highway 19.
Remove it.
The 5th lane.
Pull it out and hold it.
How's that?
That'll work.
Okay. I want to see if you can petition FDOT to remove the grassy medians on Highway 19 and replace it with a 5th lane for turning. There are several benefits to that. I can go over them. There's some downsides too. But while I got my 5 minutes, it would improve traffic flow. Of course, it'll lead to less impediments of drivers turning left. It'll increase safety somewhat, dedicated deceleration lanes, and eliminates driving lane congestion, reducing rear end collisions. How many of you turn right there? You're afraid someone's going to rear end you. Increased accessibility to business. That's my dog fight. In residential areas also, allowing drivers to enter and exit highways more easily. Improved sight lines, trees provide some drivers with reduced visibility. Of course, reduced maintenance costs for the state. And future proofs the highway on traffic patterns changes, and road needs as they evolve. We may have extra room for that. Now, on the downside, of course, is reduced aesthetics. And there is a limited space for pedestrians to safely wait as they do in the medians before crossing the highway. And of course, some animal habitats may be impacted. I'm not sure about the drainage issue or not. It may or may not be impacted. Engineer. So if you would just maybe consider that, it would help us, the business community, because we have a problem with accessibility.
Sir, what's your name?
Dave Gorby.
Oh, sorry.
I own.
I'm probably the only one that didn't know who you were.
You on what?
Tri-County Cellular and Head Turners.
Okay.
That's
Are
our-
you talking about all intersections or specific ones?
Well, my idea, have you ever been to Chiefland? You can see how it's all a 5th lane right down the middle. Take away all on Highway 19 within the city. Start maybe at one end of the city to the end. And remove those and replace it with just a dedicated 5th lane for turning the whole way.
You're talking about making it just like Jefferson Street.
Just like Jefferson Street.
That way.
Yeah. Where there's a whole turn. If you would consider that, when I talked to DOT, they said it's just as simple as council getting a permit and DOT starting the work. I doubt that it's that simple, but that's what
They told you, let's get the permit.
that's what they said. Well, it has to be asked for by the.
Saying that we agree to it.
Yes. That's what they told me. Okay, they didn't spend more than 5 minutes on following, so who knows? It's a bureaucracy, who knows? But I would ask that you consider it for those reasons. And the other thing I want to ask for is a whole different note. Can you please clarify city ordinance 541? It deals with the alcohol within the city limits and specifically deal with the time of sale. Because the ordinance is super confusing, written poorly. So we don't know, as 2 APS sellers, when we cannot and can sell, as opposed to, I don't know what the bar code is for DBPR, but for bars, on presence, on consumption within on the present
Premises.
thank you, premises and off premises. But if you would clarify that for us, it would be great. That's all I have.
That would be section 4-4 of Muni Code. It's A, B, and C is what we're referring to. And it deals with 1 APS and 2 PS licensing, which allows for sale of beer and wine from a convenience store or like a supermarket. So time of sale is kind of confusing in there. The way it looks, it refers to alcohol sales package. SRX licensing prohibits sale from 1 AM to 7 AM. But there's an exception that allows 1 and 2 APS licensees to sell on Sundays. So you can buy beer and wine on Sunday, but you can't have a package license or a bar open on Sundays. So that language is kind of confusing. I think if Hope could review it and give an opinion on that would probably be the proper way to go, but I don't, we're dealing with a blue law now, is what we're dealing with. It's been in place for, I know since '83, this way this is written, but it's been going on longer than that in the South. This is something that may stir interest in the community if we get the discussing it too much. But I think it's pretty clear that because I've gone over this with a different attorney, working with the convenience store and a supermarket about the way it's worded. And it does allow Sunday sales, just not after 1 AM on Sunday. Till 7 AM Sunday.
So I just asked that you look at that and make it a little more clear. As to your intent, because it's not. Thank you.
Thank you.
They need to agenda is released.
Well, can we put that on there? We're redoing the policies, can we?
It's already an ordinance.
If I may suggest, just let the attorney review it and bring an opinion back and make further action after that. After we get an opinion from her.
You explained it pretty,
But I'm not an attorney. I would
I
much
know.
rather her review
but I
it.
don't understand what the problem is.
But it is kind of confusing unless you take the time to read it and try to understand what the intent was behind it.
So maybe we can think like.
Because I was confused on it for a long time until I spent some time reviewing it and talking with others.
Is that a desire of the council?
Yes, I'm better.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Also, speaking of his request for the turning lanes as well.
I think that's basically us as DOT.
Right.
However you do that. I don't know, get them to come down here or.
It may be as simple as a call to them, asking them to do a survey of the area to see the feasibility of doing that in the
I think we
beginning.
need some more information on it, how it impact things.
They'll be
There's
here.
a lot of drainage down that median.
And he said he didn't know about.
There's
that,
a lot of,
so.
there's a huge culvert. They just redid about 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Mhm.
Down the middle. So now that's going to impact that. There's just, like I said, a lot of unanswered questions.
DOT will be here next meeting for something separate. We could ask them about that, what that process would look like.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I come to check up, my name is Louis Gaddy. I'm gonna check, I want to see about the den ramp, what you come up with.
Did you ever check into that?
I did, and I tried to get your contact information, but it does seem that we've exhausted what we can do with the claim. In fact, I agree with the administration that when we looked into it further, to potentially appeal it would actually cause us to potentially lose our coverage. And the way the damages were and the type of damages, it doesn't seem to be supported by what the insurance covers. So at this time, as far as the insurance aspect, I think we've gone as far as we can with the insurance claim.
Have we found out what our deductible is?
That'll be liability insurance. You don't have a deductible on liability. deductible on your auto. That would be our auto.
Our liability insurance doesn't have deductible.
I don't think so.
No, we asked, it was the auto was 5,000, but for our autos
Right,
and lawsuits, so, but yeah.
That might have been a stupid question, but I just wanted to know.
No, we asked Stephanie a month ago and it's fuzzy already, yeah. You stated excuse me. You stated that you were not going to file against your own insurance.
Mhm.
Why not?
Why would I?
Why wouldn't you? Have you got insurance?
Yes, I have insurance.
Well, then why not file against it?
Why
That's
not
what it's
file
there.
against y'all insurance?
I'm sorry.
Y'all insurance, y'all road one caused me to mess up my car.
Well, it's gone, it's at the point that our insurance has said there is not a claim there for them to deal with. And that's the end of discussion. And they also told us to quit talking about it.
They did.
So,
I guess the only other thing you could possibly do is, I don't know, better not say anything.
I suggest you
Say
do
that
not.
This over to you.
I suggest you do not. I think I was reading in that.
that's what they said.
Yeah, I thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, how are y'all doing tonight?
We're good. Yeah.
Good. My name is Angela Castellucci. I am president of the Taylor County Historical Society. And you're very lucky I'm not wearing my Santa hat or any of my jingle bells, but I am here tonight to talk about our first Christmas in July event that we're hosting this Friday night down at Rosehead Park. First, I would like to say how much I appreciate how well Danielle has worked with us when we've called her with 1,000,001 questions about using the park. Everything has just been pretty much yes. She's been there for us and we do appreciate it. But please come downtown. We've got more than 26 vendors that are going to be set up and down the park. We're going to have games for children. We're going to have some stage entertainment. And we even have a very special guest that might make an appearance. We do know people in town. The other thing is I would like to invite you to get with your children and your grandchildren and have them get involved in this photo scavenger hunt that we are holding in conjunction with Taylor County Public Library and our Christmas in July event. We have a prize pack that's 4 tickets to Wild Adventures, $150 in spending money, and $100 gas card for the lucky winner. But you have to be present to win and you have to complete the scavenger hunt. Now, the secret with the scavenger hunt is it's taking these sweet children to some historic places in Erie, but don't tell them that. We just want them to have fun, but they're maybe getting a little bit of a history lesson as they complete the scavenger hunt. I've left you a flyer. I also encourage you to, it's CASTELUCCI. We have also been working with a great fellow who is helping us do some PR. And he has done an awesome video for us that I think he's trying to get up right now on the screen. It can.
I had the link, but it didn't come through.
Yeah, well, if not, I encourage you, you can go to my page, you can go to the Historical Society page, or you can go to the I Love Taylor County, Florida page and see a promo that just really hit today about the upcoming event. So again, I just want to say thank you for letting us use the park. Thank you for all the great help we've got from everybody in the city. And please come out and join us. I think we're going to have a really good time. And if you want to get in the spirit, Hallmark Channel is doing their Christmas in July movies too. All right. Thank y'all very much. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Are you gonna bring cooler weather with the?
Well, we have ordered cooler weather. We are going to have a little bit of snow, I heard. And we're going to have a splash zone that you can kind of run through and cool. So, and we're also doing a movie later that night. And we have reached out to mosquito control and asked them very, very kindly to come out and please kill every mosquito in the world. And they said they would do their best. So we hope to see you down there.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Moving along, bids. Oh, sorry.
Michael A. man, been having an issue with our lot next door to us. About us high school and softball fields. There previously looked like two cleanup notices there and nothing's been cleaned up and it's been there for, I've noticed one of the cleanup notices like last year in August. I know previously the public works director to get with the code enforcement officer if it wasn't cleaned up and the city would clean it up. And bill the owner of the property, if he didn't pay it, they put a lien on the property. And just want to know what can be done about it.
Is that right along Johnson Strip and
Right there,
what's that between you and the?
between us on that softball.
It's kind of the water right now, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, but it's growing up right there. We've had rats get in the house and in our shed and snakes coming over there, and mosquitoes and things. It's just so grown up over there right now.
And small children.
Yeah, it's terrible.
We'll follow up on that. It's between the house on the corner and the softball field.
Yeah, right before the stop sign is the house there and between the railroad.
We'll follow up.
Thanks.
Bids. There aren't any, just to report on who won them. Sean, what was the company that you chose?
Consolidated.
Okay, do you want to tell them why that one?
So.
Howdy, Sean O'Quinn, West Warren Department. Looking at the bids, we chose Consolidated because for the price, we got more material. And that was the sole reason.
For the spray field.
Yes, sir.
Prices were roughly the same.
They were actually the cheapest. They were the cheapest and they had more material.
And the quality of it.
Well, they were all galvanized, metal, so they should be all the same quality, should be.
Motion purchase. Recommendation.
Second.
Think you need a motion.
I don't think you need a motion.
Okay, we
I
change,
think we decided to.
we gotta change the ordinance.
So what is this working?
At the spray field, that's where our effluent goes. They're so low that the cows kind of mess up the sprinkler heads. So we want to raise them away from the cows.
How you gonna build for that?
It's 2 foot should get them out of the reach of the cows. They're almost out of the reach. But 2 foot should get them out of the reach.
Let us regular rainbirds.
Excuse me?
There's regular rainbird type.
I think, yeah, they're called like whale tail,
Yeah,
the flapper.
yeah,
Yeah, they're very old and they're can't get parts for them. So they don't want them.
Show me the ordinance.
And I can report while John's searching and you're done. And Elton, there was just one bid for the firemen's protective gear. So they obviously won in.
Okay, I want the number.
What was that? What was that, Kenny?
Excuse me?
Who was it?
I don't know. What was the name of the company? Okay.
yeah. What, 3,500 per setup? Give or take.
It was per, yeah, whatever I said the last meeting.
Call that on every animal.
Yeah, I don't have it all. We said that. And then the other bid for the fuel system, there was one that we have a new purchasing agent. She's brand new. And she's not even been there 3 months and she oversaw one of the bids in a box. So we're refitting that. One sat in the box, that was for what? The fuel system.
Fuel management, chip
Yes.
thing, radars, whatever.
So we're redoing the whole thing. Yep. Company it was for fire.
I think it's AEST, fire safety. Yeah. Fire and safety.
Thank you.
Either that code ordinance 821 or 891. I think 891, but they all got readopted again, so probably 821. That might be where they all got adopted again. too.
If it's done by ordinance, I am going to make a motion that ordinance be brought back to the next council meeting and get this settled once and for all. And you're going to see why in a few minutes. That's my motion.
Is that the one that's being advertised?
He's making a
He's making a
motion.
new one.
He wants an ordinance
No.
that council votes on bid.
I thought, wasn't there already an ordinance in motion?
No, not for that.
The procedure we're using is the one that Bill Bryan's used when I got here.
That's right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
But there was a little difference in the ethics and I'll
Okay.
stop it right there.
All right.
And what's going on now.
Do you want to do that over a certain dollar limit that it goes to council? Give us a little bit of slack.
Wow.
5,000.
Well, that's anything that goes out for bid.
Pardon?
That's everything that goes out for bid. For 5,000 and up. We don't bid on stuff lower than that.
500.
We don't put out to bid.
2,500 to 5,000 is an informal bid. Verbal or written.
That's just three quotes or whatever.
Correct.
Or three.
So the formal bids start at 5.
Leave it like this. But have you got? You send us a, what we said was, we want to do and follow the county's lead and as to the way they're doing it. Okay,
Thought that just was about opening the bids in a meeting.
no, sir, that was all the way.
So what are we not doing that they're doing now? We're opening in.
You're opening them. It goes back
Staff.
to review, make a recommendation and brought back with a recommendation and the council.
Council approves or disapproves the recommendation. Okay, if you want to change that ordinance, then that's all you got to do. But that's,
We'll draft one
this is
up.
all new to us. So at any rate, and I will apologize, I would have had a written report and I did request it, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna deal with that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, but just letting you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps. New people, yeah. Black and white.
They're gonna.
So doesn't he have one?
Is it-
Need an ordinance. You just dropped in.
Just $5,000 limit on a slate all down with things.
Absolutely.
I know this was written quite a while back.
Why? That's, I thought it was 5 already.
At 5, we can make a decision. Right now, we make a decision on everything.
We
What
could-
he's requesting is anything over 5, y'all have to make the decision.
So that's gonna string it out for probably 6 weeks on the average.
I would suggest bumping it up to 25,000, somewhere in that range. Anything above that goes to council decision.
I think. Not at this time.
Would be a good number. 15.
Well,
Thanks, 5,000. When was this? 30 years ago? I don't know. I don't know when this is.
Yeah, it was probably the 80s.
That's
Probably 40.
probably equal to about 12 to 15.
that's, 25.
And I did get an ordinance a long time ago that bumped that up a little bit. I'll have to research it, but
25?
Yes.
it's better. You okay with that? 25.
We'll have it next meeting.
Thank you.
You don't even vote on that or just an agreement?
Well, you can't. That's the problem. It's not.
Okay, just an agreement.
So if we're doing it under the auspice that we used to do, staff's already made the decision then, and if the council's okay with accepting doing it the way we've always done it, since since that, two that you brought before us tonight,
I can,
okay, it's okay.
I'm okay with it.
Go ahead on.
Y'all wanna go with 25 of those?
It don't seem like.
Let's find out what he has to say.
Would that clear on this then?
Yep, I'm done with that.
Okay. Agenda item 6A. Approval of minutes from June 27th.
Motion to accept.
Second. Or,
No comment. Councilmember Bryan,
yes,
Councilmember Landry,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodfall.
Yes.
Councilmember Petrie,
yes.
Mayor Hampton. Yes. Agenda item 6A-2. School zone speed enforcement presentation.
Madam Mayor, if you remember the last council meeting, I discussed the school zone enforcement through technological means. We have a presentation from Ultimate, and they're here in the audience to present that.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. So if you'd like our presentations on the overhead here, is there any way we can go to the next slide? So what we really want you to know about our company, we help cities and counties nationwide save life and limb, especially of children, at no cost to the city. So our solution that we are presenting today costs you nothing. So with that being said, we go to the next slide. Lots of facts here by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. The biggest thing I want to note on this slide is the first bullet point, 90% chance of survival of a pedestrian getting struck in a vehicle traveling at 20 miles per hour versus the very last number, 10 to 15% chance of pedestrian survival being struck at a vehicle traveling 40 miles per hour. So significant decrease there in the numbers. So we did a speed study here back in May. So if you'd like to go to the next slide, I'm sorry. Before we get to that, we do have ahead of ourselves. You can go to the next one. I'm going to hand it to Lorraine to talk about the statute and go over the specifics of the law in Florida that has recently passed.
So House Bill 657, which allows for automated speed enforcement in school zones, took effect July 1st. So what that does is it allows automated enforcement. You can put cameras inside school zones. It is to be done during the flashing light times as well as the entirety of the school day. The flashing light times, it is 10 miles an hour over the flashing posted speed limit, which I believe is 15 on the zones that we did. And then the posted speed limit during the school hours, the regular posted speed limit, it has to be 10 plus, right? They have to be going over 10 miles an hour in order for there to be a violation at all. So I want to stress that because it's not set up to be 1, 2, 5. The law is very clear. It has to be 10 plus. The fine is $100. It is, there's no impact on insurance. It is a civil penalty unless they do not pay the fine. At some point, it can turn into a uniform traffic citation and then can generate points on a license. But at the initial fine is still that $100 and it is civil. Again, there is a public information campaign that is required. There's signage that is required. We also in the legislation, which is something that we do on a regular basis, as well as part of business, we have a 30-day warning period. So the first 30 days, no citations will be issued. There will be mailing sent, but it will be a warning. There will be no fine associated with it to allow people to get acclimated to the new program. Right, gives them an opportunity to learn about it. And the whole idea behind the program is to change driver behavior, especially around the school zones. So when we show you, and the reason that we want to talk about that is because the next couple of slides talk about, our
Oh, there-
percentages didn't show up. I don't know why.
I have them here, I have them.
We have them.
I don't know why they
They
didn't
were
show
on
up
the,
either.
Can I ask a quick question?
yes.
Okay, you say there's a $100 fine.
Mhm.
Is that, it doesn't matter how far over the speed limit you're going, it's across the board $100 fine or?
10 plus over. So you have to be
So
going,
anywhere from 25 to 75 is the same.
yes, it's
Right.
still 100 for this, for the enforcement, for the photo enforcement. Now, the legislation does not stop an officer from going out there and writing a ticket, right?
Well, quite naturally, yeah.
Yeah, and then they would get that enhanced penalty that is applicable for the school zone. So that's still in play, right? That's still a viable option. But the whole idea behind the camera systems is to be a force multiplier. The officers cannot be there every single day, all day with the school zones, and you have multiple zones in the area.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do you, if you start seeing a pattern of excessive speeding, are you gonna alert police department? to
so
that?
they will know, they have to review the citations.
Yeah.
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 So as part of the program, the citations are sent and an officer has to review them before they're sent out. So they will be viewing the information and verifying the speed, so they're gonna see that. And they'll also see if it's the same person, you know, if they're seeing 25 of the same, they may want to go and have a conversation or call that person and find out what's going on. So like I said, I don't know why the percentages aren't there, but we can read them off to you. They were in the presentation I sent.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't show up either, but with that being said, if you look on the pie chart, what you see in the blue is actually the percentage of violators. So 373 vehicles that were traveling in the school zone during the flashing light hours, 291 of them were violating the law. So that 291 out of 373 were going 10 or more miles per hour over the speed limit in a school zone with children present. So that equates to 291 violators and 82 non-violators.
So it comes up to be about, what, 78% of the people traveling in that school zone on the date that we did the studies were speeding. And they were going 10 plus over. Remember, our study, we didn't start capturing any violators until they were 10 plus the speed limit. Also, if you notice, that did show up on here are during the posted school hours, those were some of the top speeds of people going through there. Now, we don't know if some of those weren't law enforcement going to a call. I'm gonna tell you that, you know, we don't know that, right? So it could be, but there's a pretty consistent high rate of speed through there.
And I would also like to note too, that we did the speed study over the course of 2 days. On the second day, you actually had even more violations. A little bit more cars. So out of 431, you had 329 violators. So essentially about 100 people were not violating that day, which is an egregious number. It's large. So if you wanted to, if you guys didn't have any questions about this slide, or if you wanted to view the next slide, we're happy to walk you through those numbers as well. So this is at the middle school. Once again, what you see in the blue is the percentage of violators. So out of 399 vehicles that were traveling on the first day, 288 were going 10 or more miles per hour of the speed limit, which equates to 72% of people traveling in that school zone at that school time with children present were going 10 or more miles per hour of the speed. The next day had a little bit more, 298 out of 413. So roughly about 72% for both days are the percentage of drivers that were speeding.
And again, it's 10 plus, right? We're not doing anything until they're doing over 10. So they're not doing 3, 4, 5 miles an hour over. They're doing 10 plus over
And
in that
middle-
area.
Middle school is more adults than students, right? Middle school,
I mean,
Middle school.
or that's still students,
Right,
basically.
right.
I mean,
Young students.
yeah. So I mean, it's whoever's driving them to school or whoever's driving through there, right? We don't know exactly who's doing the driving, right? We didn't,
I'm just
for the
saying
study, but-
statistically, it might be more adults than students.
oh, 100%, especially at the middle school.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
That's what.
Yes, because they're not driving yet.
Well,
Yeah,
And typically, because students are slowing down to go to school, they're not speeding up. So we don't really see a whole lot of students that are speeding through because they're supposed to be attending. So.
That's in the end of school.
yeah, well, that's true. On the way. So, but you can see that these speeds were a little bit lower, you know, when we look at the high speeds taken throughout the day. But still over, really over. I mean, if there was a child walking across the street and now, we all know everybody has headphones in, they're not paying attention, they're looking at their phone. If they were not paying attention and they stepped out, that would be deadly.
And I mean, and just to kind of circle back to what we said earlier about 40 miles per hour or more over the speed limit. I mean, you have drivers that are going in excess of 55 and 45. I mean, that's a life-changing accident if you hit a child.
Are these in line with what you find on other studies, or are we way out of line?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've done studies, multiple studies, around the state, and these are some of the higher numbers for speeds. You know, higher percentages overall, I would say, of people speeding. I mean, there are 2 other agencies that actually have schools worse than this. They're up in the high 80s, almost everybody going through there speeding. So, you know, it just depends, but still, you know, all I think about is if it was my son walking to school and, you know, and the chance that he would get injured, that would just, I mean, we lived a block from the school and my son walked to school every day. And it would, you know, I don't want any parent to have to go through that. I certainly wouldn't want to experience it, and I would never want to have anybody else have to experience that. And if there is something that we can do to help prevent that, and the whole idea, again, is to modify driver behavior so that they slow down in these areas, right? That's the whole point of it. What we're trying to do, and some of the statistics for programs that we've rolled out in other states, from the first 6 weeks of school to the last 6 weeks of school, they have decreased speeding by over 50%, sometimes 60, 70%. There's been a you know, fewer citations, and it's modified the behavior. That's what we're trying to do. We want it to be 0. We don't want those cameras to be needed anymore. We would like it to get to 0. The whole idea is, again, to modify behavior and save lives. That's what our goal is.
Are these up anywhere now?
Not in Florida yet, because the law just passed July 1st. So they are not up anywhere yet. So you would be one of the first in the state to do it.
Has anybody talked to the judge to see how he feels?
This would be heard at the magistrate level to begin with, unless we issue UTCs or uniform traffic citations, then the judge would review those.
Is it the same magistrate that does the code?
Yes, same process.
So it'd be the same night, all the other.
To do this tonight, you have to pass an ordinance that would allow it, and that's why the magistrate comes into play.
Not that I want to make money off of it, but what happens to the $100?
So the city does get $60 of that. The school district actually gets $12. $5 goes to school crossing guard, recruitment and retention, and of course, the state takes their money as well. We know that I believe FDLE gets $3 and the Department of Revenue gets $20, something like that. I think that adds up to the 100. But yes.
How do y'all make, just out of curiosity, how do y'all make money out of it? You gotta have some way to pay for it.
So, yeah, so there is a fee that comes out of the $60, but we also have a cost neutrality clause in there because our whole idea for us is that they get down to 0. So the city never owes us any money at all. There's never a point in time where you're going to be out any money at any point in time.
And if it does get down to 0,
Then
we don't make money.
Yeah.
We lose money.
We need an ordinance to move this along.
Yes, sir, we do.
Let's get the ordinance and get the contract to the attorney.
Yes,
Yes, sir. We'll be happy to do that.
if I can provide a sample ordinance as well, and one from Georgia, because they've enacted this in the past, and I can work with Hope on that, get it moving forward. If that's the wishes of the council.
Agree.
I think it's a great idea.
I live close to everybody.
Yes, sir. I know, I was your neighbor for a long time. And there is a problem, you know, you've seen the problem.
There is.
But thank you so much.
Thank you
your
for
time.
having us.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about making so much money like you. I'm concerned about the children more than anything. If we don't make anything on it, so slow down and quit stealing.
I don't
Not
think-
quite.
We're going
Safety, not risk.
General item 6B. Council to continue discussion on policy resolution.
I didn't bring any of this meeting, so we'd have more time for budget review.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 6C. Council to review and discuss financials through May 2023. Take any actions deemed necessary.
You asked for it.
I can do it.
Well, I can tell you one thing is,
I'm looking at,
fund and,
the, cash.
okay, the cash deal, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't,
Do we have that?
you've had it. But, it just shows, it shows the cash we had on, October 1, very beginning of the year.
in general fund, right?
Cash, no, all funds,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all funds. And what we have now, what may have increased or decreased. Uh, The only one that I would say decreased is general fund,
right, for the ARPA thing.
and that's a good thing. That's, yeah.
Yeah, you told me to correct that for the
Yeah.
next month, yeah.
Have we got some of that money it's got to be spent by a certain time.
Yes.
Is it spent or obligated and spent, you know?
I believe spent was the terms I've always heard. Of course, the amount of writing and websites,
Yeah.
didn't have time. But we can spend it, I feel confident in this
Yeah.
year. I mean,
Way prices are, yeah.
and all we have to do is paving with whatever's left over.
Other things that are paid.
Well,
But we could do a bunch of stuff and then if it's
that's what I
left,
was gonna say. We need this, we got this amount and this is what we're going to, we already got some of it obligated.
Mhm.
And what we made, if we is
Mhm.
want to do.
And we have a wish list, and when I give the capital outlay, there's some items that we're gonna kind of pluck out and earmark them for you as ARPA.
Yeah.
And because one of them we had been talking about was the radio equipment, but it looks like another grant's gonna go for that, so yay.
Is the city going to receive any of that grant?
Yes, we are. I verified that the morning the article came out.
Yeah.
Yes, we were part of that original request with the county.
Okay,
With the sheriff's
okay.
office. yes.
That's the.
Radio.
And radios come a long ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see us take some of these projects that are more expensive.
Yeah.
With the funds that we've got and tackle them instead of just eating away at it, it's just little one, little one, little one.
Well,
You know,
we're-
I mean,
We can do that. Yeah.
thank you.
And worst case scenario, the fire hydrants is another one that we could do a
Yeah.
big chunk on, so.
Yeah.
so. I can report, because I did get the June one out this morning. She finally balanced it, and put it in my box last night. And we are, year to date, we're 75% of the way through the fiscal year. And the one you have is 58% through the fiscal year, but which is 75%, and all the funds look good and are running
on 75 or 71%, and a couple even less. And I did a lot of the transfers, which were not shown in the May one.
Yeah.
That's why there was some of those minuses. And the reason I do that is because I'm looking for inaccuracies in the posting of the reversals that Phyllis did. So this way I can kind of focus on, does it look reasonable or not to me?
The main thing, or one that really stands out is gas.
It's looking better.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's, yeah, that's,
Well, when people pay their bills, it's fantabulous. Yes.
and we're going to go way over budget. The revenue there.
I was hoping we Oh, would. would. Doing catch up from last year.
True.
Yep. So we should go way
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Are those
payments still coming in?
They are, like I say, they wait to the 60-day mark and then they're paying, so
I'm not just the gas, the separate.
it's all together. They're paying it all at one lump. Yes.
So they're doing what they say.
They are doing what they said they're gonna do, and I've got a good relationship with a couple of people over there.
Right.
It's working out wonderfully. Matter of fact, they've had auditors in, and of course, they wanted to see the discrepancy, the same stuff that you audited. So, yeah, and I've sent them all that, and they've pretty happy. So,
see what, 524, 342,
General fund,
it's in
524.
general fund, yeah,
Yeah.
contract service building permits. See if you can figure out why that
You take a look at it.
actually's gone twice.
Yeah, I saw that, and I don't know. I can look at the detail.
It may be, it's in general fund.
Yep, 524.
If you go, okay, look, if you look at the top of, you'll see 001, that's the general. And this is in
It's 13.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Then go to 5001, then 524, protective inspections.
Well, Bill, I can look at this. I know you're helping them, thanks. In November, we cut him a check for $46,000. Do you think it might be the apartments?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I can have her look at that.
Yeah,
It's a good, but it's on the average, that monthly's around 1, 2, 3, or 4,000. And then this one was 46,000. So
yeah.
I'm guessing it's the apartments, but I could find out for sure, but they're all in Taylor County.
Well, we shouldn't be,
I don't know.
isn't this what we're sending to county?
Yes. Mhm.
But we're not, all we're obligated for is a budget, aren't we? We shouldn't be sending them everything.
Yes, that's the way it's written, Bill, and that needs to be fixed.
Like straight pass through, everything
It's
that comes in goes out.
That's the way that ordinance was written. I looked into that.
Gosh,
Yeah, I know, because it's not paying for itself. The part that we're doing, for Amy and ours, because we used to have the building department here, and then we and same with animal control and such, and we made agreements with county and, gave them a truck to take animal control in a building, and they said all proceeds for the building would go to the county. So when you have something like these apartments come in,
Right.
we shot ourselves in the foot,
sure it is.
so. Maybe we need to look at that ordinance, and y'all can, well, then we have to talk to the county.
Yeah, we gotta go through, well, we got a carrot for the county. Bigger than that.
We can still look at it. if we
Oh,
can
yeah,
copy
yeah,
of
yeah,
it at
yeah.
the next
Yeah.
meeting.
I think-
So it's building permits.
Yeah.
John, you want to be involved? Okay,
While we're on that page,
okay.
the last thing mentioned is mosquito control,
Yes,
and according to this, we haven't spent anything this year.
they bill us at the end of the fiscal year. Same thing with animal control. Now animal control, they give us quarterly billings on. And mosquito control, it's when all is said and done, they send me a bill. It's usually an accrual. And that's why you see a back out because it was given to us after September 30th of 22.
The county provides mosquito control for the city. And we have to pay them.
So it just sits there until they,
It sits there till about October of the next year, and then we pay it and then back it out,
just like insurance, it just sits there until you pay it.
kind of, sort of, yeah, yeah.
Annual.
So did we have to pay more than we had budgeted? Is that on 16?
Well,
No, that's 16.
yeah, I had 32 budgeted, so,
No.
But that's for this year.
Last year, that was from last year, though, right?
yeah, I'd have to look and see if, the thing is, over or under budget, all I can do is look at the current, when I relook at the trends, and I
That's
fix it.
from
That,
audit adjustment.
well, I did it, yeah,
Yeah, I mean.
yeah, the journal entries, yeah.
Right,
So what I do is I can only adjust it in hindsight for the future year,
right.
Right.
but it's probably, it's usually pretty consistent. It's not out of control or anything.
It was 16 over, that's not consistent.
No, I had 30, like for this current year, I had 32,000 budgeted. So the previous year was probably in the 30s also. And we paid some up front and then
Yeah.
the additional 16. Because they don't know what it is till they balance their books, which is after the year end, also in September 30th. Accounting, by the time they reconcile, it's like your bank statements you get every month. When you get it in the mail, like the 4th of the month, that month's already closed. So then you have to go back and make accruals.
Yeah, I understand
Okay.
that, the 16 occurred in 22.
But they didn't bill us
They didn't
Till-
bill us until the 23rd.
for a couple weeks or months later, and then we accrue it and we back it out. God, this is exhausting.
And we still have money left for demolition.
So that's where you back.
We still have 20 grand for demolition in this current year, which we're running out of time on.
But it's a lot of things.
I wanted to get, yeah, you just can only do so. I mean, we can only be spread so thin.
We haven't done anything in code enforcement since March.
Code enforcement every day.
He got busy
We
on
haven't
that.
been before the magistrate yet.
Yeah, they had one last.
She's on vacation.
Yeah.
or something.
No, this started until August.
Everybody that we've contacted has made arrangements or had made progress on the issues. They would move to the magic agenda. Because we want them to comply, we don't want to have to go in there and just tear stuff down.
True.
So as they comply and they start making progress, it's removed from that agenda for the magic review. There's gonna be some things that people are just not gonna do it, and we haven't made it there yet. The guy we've got doing it is very consistent with this, and he's making contact with everybody, and he's encouraging them to speed up, and they're starting to do it now.
Are we following Bill's recommendation that we make a deal with them and say, if you can't do it, we'll do it?
It's exactly how we're handling it.
Okay.
We're trying everything we can to make them comply before we start enforcing or forcing action on it.
Did we go back to maybe March? All those complaints received.
We've gone back through September last year and are going back and revisiting everything that has been done to make sure we're updating the files and getting ahead of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
does he still do the Monday ride through before the meeting?
He's riding through it a couple times a week at minimum, maybe more depending on complaints and receipts.
Looking at Fort Gas capital outlay,
Uh-huh.
we got a actual of 37,000, but a budget of 1,500. I wonder.
That was a weird timing. He was supposed to get some kind of truck. And
Truck that was budgeted from the previous year's capital outlay, it took 16 months roughly to get that vehicle. That's why it showed up on that line.
Yeah, that's
yeah. And the 1,500's from the discretionary tax as well. I just had a little bit left over. I thought, well, we'll throw it in the gas department.
We're gonna continue to see delivery issues on vehicles as we move forward too. 18 months is pretty short compared to what we're hearing now.
They're taking longer.
Yes.
Parts and electronics.
Sorry.
Electronics.
Our local dealership found the truck that they had promised out to us in Oklahoma. is where the Innovax Avenue get that truck.
Lisa, what, John?
So the only thing I can do is then have carryover reserves. Now, once we get the newer computer system, they do it automatically. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, you push a button and it rolls it. But well, I would designate what ones you roll. The regular funds you don't, but capital outlays, I can. And but otherwise, I would probably just and it would show more in the ad in the newspaper for the budget. So we'll just figure out what hasn't come in, like your trucks, the claw trucks. We don't know if they'll be in by September or not. So that's gonna be another one.
Overtime, of course. High everywhere.
It is, and I sometimes at the end of the year, I clean it up, and if the department's bottom line looks good, I don't bother with it.
A lot of that's just understaffed too. So your salaries are, not salaries, but your pay's low, but your overtime's higher, to kind of even out.
And certain departments like street and police and fire frequently always have a vacancy or gaps, so.
Under water department, it's showing that the budget was, it's forward here, but that's. It's showing. And the budget as far as this one went, 233,000 plus for extensions as a capital outlay. What extensions or what are we talking about?
Andrew's not here, is he?
I'm here.
Okay,
And I'm
Would
not
you-
familiar with the.
okay.
exact policy.
What that means is them putting lines in the ground for new service, such as the apartment buildings. So both gas and water, we put in some money for the extending the, it's a capital outlay type expense.
Okay, but we haven't charged anything against.
We haven't done it yet.
But water's 350,000. Gotta be something besides those apartments.
I put in there what they tell me to. And that's what I put in there last year was for the apartment building.
We've also got 30,000. You got total 45 for the year, but 30,000 so far for maintenance of other equipment. And we've only spent 8,000.
Most of our costs are coming out of operating supplies this year. That's.
I
all
can't
it
hear
breaks down
you.
to. The majority of our costs have been coming out of operating supplies this year, not as much out of maintenance of other equipment.
And all you can do is a best guess on what was last year and like the age of the vehicle or whatever you're thinking. And usually one might be lower and the other might be high. So eventually I could do a budget amendment to clean that up. But again, if it's within the same department, 6 one half dozen of the other.
That also being said, maintenance of other equipment, we do have a large bill coming out for about $15,000 for some equipment at the old water plant. That is supposed to be here around the beginning of August at this point. So that'll probably even that out a little bit.
Well, I believe in maintenance, so that's why I'm asking.
And we have a similar one in wastewater as well, which you probably haven't gotten there yet, but there's one of them was the lift station at the higher budget, and then the other one was the lower, and they're both in the tens of thousands. But one got spent higher in the lower one, and again, and part of that was because we didn't have the same supervisor in wastewater for a year.
Do you think that 350 extensions in water is for those apartments, or do you think it was something else?
No, it's for the
That's it?
apartments. Yeah,
I
I
don't know. Yeah,
I could go back next year or, well, we're gonna have to budget anyway, because if we're not putting in this year, Andrew can rough me up
Yeah.
another cost for the
Yeah.
apartments and that's what that'll be.
that's just a high.
It's ridiculously high, but what do I know about?
DVC's ridiculously high as well, so.
And the labor to do it, and especially if we have to sub it out. So I don't know. I don't know what the intention was.
We should only be responsible to brought that water to property line right there.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
Can't be that, but it's good.
you have the paperwork, okay. What,
from last year.
Yeah.
I'll see what's in the extensions. It could have been a verbal that I got from them too, because sometimes I just say,
Yeah,
but I mean, if it's not spent, it's not spent, so it's just gonna go back into our bank account. I mean, it's. But we will need a new number, Andrew, for this year's budget on extensions and gas. But we gotta get that, they gotta open up that easement. So that slowed everything down.
She made your transfers, so it should look totally different.
Yeah, as far as all the,
you didn't transfer all of it.
well, no. And, yeah, but the general fund, because the thing is, it's just like when the year turns over and you haven't any brand new revenues because this is just the first payroll week. Well, you're gonna pay bills out of your savings account basically, and, so it's just easier to keep it clean now. Recreation and warehouse sometimes get a little transfer early.
Can you pull a report with just, the summary of general and then of each department of Southern? Can you do it that way?
The summary that you get,
Just the summary.
yeah, that would be they're already in here. It's just the very,
I know they're in here.
yeah.
For the next time, can we get it just the summaries and not all the details?
Okay, well, I knew Bill would want
I know he
detail,
wants the details.
but if you just look at, well, general fund doesn't have one, but,
Yeah, it's got one.
well, skipped it on my printer. Oh, yeah. But that would be all you have, and I mean, and I've been emailing you one of those every month, everybody, the short version, the long version.
Okay.
So when you have the long version, you just have to go to each fund and look at the cover page. It's the same thing.
Trying to put that on paper.
Well, usually I don't,
Summaries.
I usually don't do this. This is requested.
I know.
That's why I email him. But he's not gonna be happy with a one pager in the
Seeing
meetings.
The whole thing. I just need the summaries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay. With this. Move forward. Agenda item 6B. Council to discuss the status of software upgrades.
You want me to say it? We had, this is the same thing I think I told you 2 weeks ago. We had two more to check with, and Stephanie was gonna be involved in this. But bless her heart, her dad got in a serious car accident and like broken back stuff. And her and her other sister's been tag teaming, taking care of him. Then they got COVID this weekend. So that 2 weeks has not changed since you last asked this. And we pretty much know, same thing, we pretty much know who we want to go with, and Jamie wants hardware information. But I would like to have her mind at ease and make her phone calls, and we all sit on it and listen and make sure we're making sure.
Are we just talking about upgrade software or software and hardware?
Hardware as well. Across the board.
ARPA money.
Some of the hardware's, that's the increase in security as far as computer systems as well. It's something I've discussed.
So what I would like to know is what are some of the changes? It's gonna make us.
There will be handhelds in the field, either on cell phones or tablets with internet connections. So they can take photographs. We're in the field, like if they're digging up the pipes, whatever, they can take a photo of it and it will permanently be stored with that record or that work order. We can, our invoicing system, she'll run it through a scanner and you'll have a permanent printout or a permanent copy of the packing slip, the invoice.
the quote, so it'll all be electronic, everything's on the cloud, which with redundant backups, you know, in the other states and all that. You can have the bills emailed. There will be portals for employees. If you're curious how many floating holidays you have left, you can just log in and look up your stuff.
Time card.
Time cards will be electronic, and download that, save a lot of our payroll person's time. So that will be more for that person to do, free them up to do other stuff than to micromanage all this daily.
Are we gonna have an app?
Yeah, there's gonna be an app for the sign-ins, yeah.
So the app for the customers.
And the customers,
Pay bills.
and the customers can put in work orders. So if, you know, it'll be on the City of Perry website, and it's like you want to complain about a power pole being out, or, you know, big puddles, or a tree fell in the road, whatever you want to put in there, it will be there, and it'll go directly to the appropriate supervisor and or their backup person for their day, their crew leader or whatever, to check the computer, and then they function the work orders out.
That's going to be my question is, are we improving the service?
Big time, we're
Customers.
getting into the 22nd century
It's
here.
gonna make life easier for
Yeah,
all of y'all, everybody in the city. It's just gonna.
After transition.
yeah, after the transition.
I anticipate increasing efficiency in this. You won't have employees driving back to pick up work orders 3 or 4 times a day. They'll get them immediately in the field. Something, we've been doing something similar in the police cars for several years. And we would be able to just tie in with this and benefit with that.
So, and a lot of it will tie in like with the work orders and the diamond maps. So this way they could say, I replaced this piece of pipe at this address with this GPS point. And they can even say, how much did it cost and all that, and have permanent records on that. You know, on a picture of the thing, how much it cost and the date it was done. So that then later on, the engineers can download information and look at stuff. The auditors can do all this online, no more copying of papers. And so it's what the bigger cities have been doing for the last.
And it's great for our customers.
I would think so.
Well, it's gonna cut down a lot of lost checks and lost bills and.
Exactly, because
Late
it's,
charges,
because then when the
check
people
didn't make it.
complain, because we're having another spell again, folks, with the post office. And
I got both of mine Saturday.
well,
Got mine yesterday.
that's better than some.
Exactly.
It's really frustrating. And so anyway, but then I could say to you, sir, if you just, well, now I can at least say you can go online to look at what you owe, but you're gonna need, but if not, I can email it, and then you can just pay it right on off your email.
Click done.
And yeah, save postage, yeah.
For us, for the city.
Sure. It's
But we
late.
still do mail outs unless they opt out of mailer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, just off the end of, like to do with everybody else. Yeah. Off the end of, was they call paperless bills?
Yeah.
So how much longer before we find this?
Well, as soon as Stephanie comes back and she can make those phone calls. Of course, she's got a long list,
Just a guess.
into July. Before we get the purchase order.
Now,
Written up.
implementation's a different story.
Yeah.
It'll take a year.
It'll take 8 months to a year for implementation. Ordering hardware is gonna be a process too, because of availability of computer systems. You know, and then implementation, software install and update, delivery of all that, acceptance of the system. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, which ready to run, to make sure it's perfected and running before we roll it out.
Are you okay with not working?
But, and that's something that we can include in the hardware as well, if we need to run computer line, at City Hall. I would suspect we need to replace some switches and a few other things, computer components, to increase the speeds inside City Hall.
Are you a cat 3 or 5?
5A or 6. Cat 5A or 6.
Or
Cat
6,
5.
You just wrote to 8 now.
Yeah.
And what's the cost?
Just,
Just,
how are you doing?
I don't have I couldn't even guess for you right
because
now.
we started out with 200.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
The software is going to be about 165,000.
I think most of your expense as far as software is gonna be that 200,000.
Is it gonna be an ongoing?
Not quite that high, but
Software.
Pretty close.
it's around 65 ongoing.
Yeah, then there's every year, then it's going to be at 65,000 for
all their hosting and services.
Storage.
But that's well worth it to be, because it's really gonna free up the employees to focus on other things that they need to do. And
Well, some get sideways, you got to study on speed now to fix it.
well, it's just kind of like cell phones, because we've all kind of, now we're kind of used to it and stuff. It's just like, instead of letting it go, I could say, hey, Jamie, blah, 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 and text me back and problem solved in minutes. It's wonderful.
Okay,
So.
question. That's okay. Okay, moving on to agenda item 6E. Council to review and discuss amendment 2. State Department loan agreement.
Because this was
This is what I will use.
the planning and design of the scope of project. With the state revolving fund, the planning and design was 50% loan, 50% grant.
Now, the rest of the project will be more like an 80-20 split on the grant loan business. But, and I asked him why, and he said that's 50-50 standard on engineering, and I'm like, okay. And the amortizations, they're identical. It's just that they printed it sloppy and it was a PDF, so I couldn't eliminate that last page without having that little bit of that sentence, that header. So it's the same numbers if you look at it.
What is the status of this project?
Been awarded to the contractor. It should be breaking ground any day.
I talked to Shaquille earlier this week to see when we were expecting contractors and equipment. He told me between 30 and 40 days before they show.
Who's contract?
The contractor that they have for the project. I don't know the name of the contractor for the project, but I spoke with Shaquille, the engineer on the project.
I can't remember off the top of
It's
my
the
head.
ones that did the wastewater plant, right?
I believe so.
I don't think so.
Oh, what?
Waterfield.
Is it North Florida?
I don't remember. Those are the ones that did the wastewater.
All I know is we're doing the POs through the warehouse, though, to save the sales tax.
This is for the building.
Yes.
And we're paying interest on this one. And we're paying interest.
North Florida
Okay, this
Construction.
It is North Florida, done, okay.
North Florida Construction was awarded.
Who's that?
North Florida Construction.
They've done a lot of stuff with us. We've used them before.
I just didn't think. So I didn't know we were paying interest.
It's a really low interest rate, but yes, that's loans you pay interest on, even though it's just 1 or 2%. Yep.
That's again. Okay. Capitalized interest,
It's,
zero. Explain it.
should you just pay it off or should you pay that interest?
I agree, Bill.
Yes.
Now, you cannot use ARPA funds to pay off anything like that. But because they want to stimulate the economy at the same time, which is why the time limit in,
Think we should pay it off.
Well,
I mean.
I agree with you, except
So what?
it puts in somebody's mind that if we are paying it off, we don't need it.
You don't need it.
And
You're right.
you don't, so half of it is free,
You're right.
completely, you know, maybe not, I don't know.
I mean, we've got a bunch of them that, like we're paying $8,200 twice a year for some of these little engineering loans for past projects. And it's really annoying to me to have to futz with these things like that, but someday we might, well, that big bond we had, Bob and I paid that off.
Yeah.
And that was, that was a good, but let's get a little bit more stable here and see what we
2031. Go ahead.
see what we do, see some of the improvements that your new city manager wants to make and see what kind of monies we have in a year or two, and then you can always decide to get rid of your, that's personally like how I do it, so pay it off when it's comfortable. But he's got some stuff he wants to do, and let's let it calm down and y'all get your bearings and.
Okay. Need a motion?
Motion.
Yeah, we do need a motion.
Councilmember Brian,
Yes.
Councilmember Landry,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodball. Yes. Vice Mayor Ketchum,
Yes.
Mayor Hampton. Yes. City manager.
That's motion for the city manager Where's the maker? Whoever has to sign, it's that.
Yes, that's the clerk.
That's.
As the city manager also, it's so silly they do that. I keep correcting them and it's.
That's who John,
Amen.
Penny, Chief,
No, ma'am.
yeah. Oh,
No, nothing.
Yes.
Mr. Bryan.
Yes, ma'am. When, I came on, I had a discussion with Ray Curtis about Bacon Street. He said that he was at a meeting with the other attorney, if they got one, I don't know. But he stopped because of new people being on the council. I would like to put that to rest.
What was that about?
Bacon Street. Bacon.
What about it?
Jamie thing.
House.
That house, yeah, I can update.
The one on.
I can refresh your memory on this. Bacon Street, there's a house that's sitting on city property. This house has been a nuisance to the area for a long time. We use code enforcement techniques to address the issues. We also approached it with the attorney to file an injunction so that they would not be on our property causing a nuisance in the neighborhood. And a lawsuit was filed. That lawsuit has been opened with no activity for a long time, and it does need to be settled.
Yes.
Since we started the enforcement and we warned them, a lot of the nuisance has gone away because they're in fear of losing that house.
Thank you.
So but the thing is, the neighbors are not calling complaining anymore about the parties and the prostitution and the drug use and the alcohol.
Great job.
So the neighbors aren't complaining anymore, and we had them here every meeting for a long time. And once we started this, it went away. I don't think the city needs to settle this in such a way that we can't keep the peace in that area. I think it needs to be for the benefit of the city.
Do they have an attorney, do you know?
They
I
do.
heard they had an attorney, but I had not had any discussions.
They do have an attorney, the name of which just slipped my mind, but they do have an attorney. And I know when I went over some ideas with Ray and he explaining that he had been sitting on, or it had not had any movement, one of the questions was the injectment part.
Yes.
Because even if they were ejected, they would possibly be due some type of money for improvement of the land, and the land, not the land, but the house itself is probably not worth that much. So some of the ideas that I had been exploring was, because we also have a right of way issue, because where the house is on city property, that if it were to remain there and they were not ejected, the two owners of the property right behind it, except for a trail that's not really like a legitimate trail, there's no way for them to get to their property. So there was some ideas of maybe trying, since there's nothing developed on that land, to see if there could be sort of a carving out where maybe there could be exchange of the land that the house is on with the city. That was a parcel given to the city for a subdivision that was, I think, created in 1921.
Yes.
And the families lived in that house, or the people lived in that house in that wrongfully parceled place for so long that maybe it would be worth seeing if those property owners would be willing to like sort of take a little piece of the land that the next door area that they actually owned, and like give up a little bit of their property. They got a little, I mean, the way it's carved out, I guess I could at the next meeting have the maps up and sort of show you what we're hoping can be done, since both of those properties in the back have been undeveloped, and one of the owners in the back, he owns like another piece in the back as well. It's sort of hard to explain.
It is.
Well, but that house itself, I haven't looked at it recently, was a minimum housing violation in itself, which is a totally different issue away from the lawsuit that we would continue to address. Because you can't live in housing violations.
So this has a multitude of issues.
Yes, there's more than one issue here. But and if you were to poll the neighbors, they want the house gone.
Yeah, they're going to knock down.
They want it down because they can sleep at night. And they're not afraid to go check their mail. You know, now, and you know, when you have an older lady that says, I don't want to check my mail because I'm scared. Because of the activity around this house, there's an issue that the city needs to take care of those citizens.
And exactly why you got insurance, just not that deal with.
Jamie, is that the only one in the city?
The only one I'm aware of. And
In the
we've
whole
tried-
city?
Yes, sir. The only one I'm aware of. Now, but we haven't had.
No, I'm not
complaints.
talking. That, get complaints about, different things going on. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about it being. in the
Oh,
city
okay.
property. Is
We
that the only
see-
one in the city?
We've received complaints on a bunch of properties. This is the most prolific on the number of complaints we've received in the past. It's the most that we've received in any property.
Horace McLeod owns that land.
Yes.
He put that in error
Yes.
because he owns both sides.
Yes.
I've been in the situation. We lived in a house. We were evicted from the house. The man that evicted us gave our parents $5 for each child, to buy a pair of shoes with. I've been evicted out of a house I lived in, and there is no way on this earth I would do that myself. All you gotta do is give them a, permission, just call it permission. That has to be there. They cannot rebuild it. They cannot. They'll rebuild it, basically. Because if something happened to that house, they wouldn't rebuild it anyway. They'd build it on their own property.
A significant portion of the house is on city property.
Yes.
Probably 75%
You give
of
them
it.
an easement until the house is gone, and then they can't build back.
So would that be a way to have a contract with them on how they have to treat city property while they occupy it?
Well, I don't know.
Just a question.
I think it, the options are varied, especially if it means not having to move out of that space.
Oh, I agree. I just want the nuisance abated.
Well, you made mention, is it only the noise that's gone?
Oh, it
Oh, well.
was alcohol use in the.
No, I understand. I'm so sorry. You had made mention that it had improved. What had improved?
The traffic is not as
Okay,
bad, the noise is not as bad, but it's cyclic. Sometimes it gets better for a while and then it kicks up and then we get calls, we go back and address it, remind them. You need to be on your best behavior because we still have this to resolve.
Is the old lady still afraid to go to her mailbox?
She passed away. But there are other neighbors that we haven't had any discussions with because it's not happening.
and Jamie, has there been I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Thank you. Has there been any arrests for prostitution? I keep hearing like
We haven't
prescription.
been able to make the arrest of prostitution, but drug sales, drug trafficking, illegal.
There have been
gambling.
arrests. Okay.
We've made, over the year, we have made numerous search warrants in that house. We've done many things.
Okay.
May I say something, please? I've been trying to.
Yeah.
This is my district. And Jamie and the police department has done an awesome job. The people in question, no one could drive down the street. People were out in the all night long. I got calls 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. They would not do anything until Jamie took these steps. Now, I don't want to take anyone's home away, but I think that Jamie needs some way that he can control what's going on over there. Everyone thanks you for what you've done, Jamie.
I'll let the officers know that they're the ones that have done the lion's share of the lifting,
That has,
and I appreciate that.
has been a great improvement in that
I'll
district.
let them know, I appreciate it.
But you said the house is substandard.
Yes, ma'am. And that's something we'll address through the code compliance process.
Um,
And it's been noticed before, and they didn't work and improved it to a point, and then we removed the notice. So we've got to go back and address that as it becomes another issue.
and it's not as half as bad as it used to be over there.
Not near as bad.
Well, when I pass by, I don't see many people hanging around. But I don't want to see anyone evicted either.
Oh, I agree. But the people that live in that neighborhood that occupy other houses need to be safe in their homes. Need to have the peace in their homes that everyone else is afforded in the city. But we gotta treat everybody fair. And that's what our goal is, to make sure people can live safely in their home and their own affairs.
Maybe the way to do it is just to let it sit like it is. And, we got a little hammer.
That would be a strategy. I'm not aware, or I'm not sure, of course, I'm not an attorney, on how long you can leave something like this open before it has to be resolved.
Or we can bring it back up.
We could refile, yes, we could.
Yeah.
I think what also end up coming up, and I mean, no one's complaining about it, but the way everything is plotted out now. Again, the two property owners are being deprived of a right of access, but for the trails, but no one's complaining about that, but.
No one at this point has the right to complain. And there is a couple of churches within a short distance of this property as well. And the church has been one of the largest complainants, and it's rightfully so, because of the stuff that was spilling over into their property. And we tried to address
If you
everybody's
start
concern.
abandoning property to adjoining property. Are they able to pay the expenses that would be involved in it?
It would be pretty substantial on that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I don't know what their financial situation is. But that's a thought for discussion for the attorneys.
For hope, because we do divvy
Yeah,
up
that's-
the costs, your cost and whatever else. So it's in the advertising, so the city's not liable for it, but yes,
Survey,
survey and all that. Yeah.
This was so notorious at one time, it had its own name.
What was the name?
The trap.
Oh, yeah, I know where that, I mean, I've driven by. It looks like a little jug joint, that's what I used to think.
It's
Like, it looks like a
exactly-
1950s jug joint situation.
Another subject. Can you pull up the solid waste collection services in paperwork?
How about that Excel spreadsheet?
I got a few here, some of the new ones or the
It's posted on the website.
ones.
Mr. Roger, you're speaking of the bid that's out currently for that,
What,
the bid that's out currently.
The bid or the ordinance? What were you, what,
I'm looking at what's on.
okay, the average, all right.
So soliciting bids of solid waste collection. Go to that, last paragraph itself, where it says the city reserves the right to reject all bids. We need to put any or all.
Any or all.
That's not my concern. I've read this thing a dozen times and I still don't understand how someone can bid on this.
I asked in the last meeting, what denominations do you want this? And it was
That's not
crickets.
our responsibility to do that. Mine. And besides that, it was discussed. Are we talking about cost per yard? Weight,
That's what I asked him.
kilograms, widgets, gold bars. You can't bid on this. this is exactly where we were the last time we talked about it. It's,
You don't make it specific, you wind up getting apples and oranges.
that's right.
I understand.
Say, let's make it specific.
I did say that and I got no answers. And this is basically the same
It's
thing.
not our job to come up with the language, Kenny.
I don't know why, and maybe there's a reason you can't do it.
I mean, this is the same way Monticello did theirs, but this next time I will have a spreadsheet and have all those numbers crunched because I have an accurate list now.
Why can't you say, get them to a 2 yard, a 3 yard, a 4 yard, 6, 8, 10,
That's as high as it goes.
what the cost is per, why won't that work?
And that's waste, one answered and one answered per yard. And like I said,
No,
it's a
no, 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 no.
43%.
If they don't quote that way,
Mhm.
they don't participate.
Well,
I can see, you know,
well, I can calc it up, put it on the spreadsheet and let you all look at it. And
don't need a spreadsheet.
well, it's out
Why
there.
do you need a spreadsheet?
But you asked for one at the last,
I didn't ask for a
you
spreadsheet.
said that I didn't have a spreadsheet.
No, I didn't ask for a spreadsheet. I asked for one that you may have prepared,
I did not.
but,
Waste Pro prepared their own skewed
right, they did.
sheet.
Uh-huh.
And that's what was sent to you
Right,
with all their errors and
Yeah,
so I can convert it from, you know, if it's 2 yards and you're bidding it by the yard, I'll put that in for your companies that way. And someone that's saying a 2 yard, once a week, twice a week,
no,
we'll do it that
no,
way.
no, no, don't do it once or twice. 2 yard,
2
4
yards,
yard,
once a week or twice a week, because then that would change the cost.
no. I understand what you're saying. It would change the big number.
Uh-huh.
I'm not worried about the big number. I wanna know what
How much per
they're
yard?
gonna charge
Per yard,
for 2 yard.
yeah.
Well, and you can
Pick it
break
up
it,
and
and you can,
dispose of it.
and you can break it down opposite for the fellow that puts the one cost per a 2 yard once a week. You can break it down.
No, forget once a week. You get one shot, yeah, you get one shot at whatever that price is. If you want it more than one, you multiply it times whatever.
That's correct. Yeah.
But that's not in the bid, just the price per,
Mhm.
we're trying to do their work, I guess, is one thing.
Well, we had that and when we opened the bid even, Waste Pro sat there and said, Pops, you've got the lowest bid. Because per yard is
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah,
But then he worked up this thing which had county residents, Steen
Mhm.
Hatchie,
Mhm.
duplicates, and like I said, it's 40. And like I said, places like Old Mexico, they were going from $89 a month to $44 a month. Because by the yard, it's cheaper for the smaller bins. And the few that were higher were 43% higher, but we're talking the hospital and the middle school. So, and that's when Pops had said, I can work with that and do it on an economy scale or say, maybe you don't need a 10 yard, or maybe you don't need 2 and 3 times a week and back it down for them. And that's just
but that's
advising cut. That's not that's-
our concern.
why.
John is a graduate of the University of Florida Engineering School. Where am I wrong?
You know, I asked for it to be, when we were talking
I
about
think
the
that's-
best and final offer, remember that little graph I made, it said 2 yard, 4 yard, 6 yard times per week. I wanted to bid it out like that, but
If,
I don't see that to be.
well, we don't need,
y'all didn't agree.
we don't need to multiply by frequency. They can figure that out. That's.
But that's what we got it by the yard the first time and it wasn't.
Trying to manipulate what they're doing.
But even that way, if you don't know what's out there, and one's higher here and one's lower here, and one's higher here, one's lower here, you can't figure out a total cost until you know what's really out there.
No, you
Right.
can't.
That's right.
So even getting it back that way, we still would have been confused who was really the lowest.
If, I think in my simple mind, 2 yard, dollar amount, 3, 4, whatever. Then it's between them and the customer, the frequency.
Well, we'll see what we get and I can always go back to them and say, I need it in this format. And it'll have to match what their bid said. I mean,
Yeah.
we could do that. It's just the spreadsheet and it's a little bit of math. It's not a big deal. And hopefully you've got some new bidders on the horizon as well. So.
You would think 2 yard would be $1, say, a 4 yard would be $2.
But that's not the case. That's why we,
They're
that's,
all over the place.
that's what I'm saying, that 43% swing from 43% less to 43% high. And the other issue that I've had all along, and you may have someone from the public at the next meeting speaking out about certain service they've had with these companies, you know, and even if they do pay a couple nickels more, or a few customers pay a few, the fact that they get it picked up,
Yeah,
okay, and they answer their phone. We're still getting calls every now and then.
That's a big,
I mean, you know, you get what you pay for sometimes, and and I asked them, Bill, and here's something, you know, that lady that was here from Waste Pro. I emailed her a month ago with this, and I said, I need the last 6 months of the customers to match the franchise fees that you paid us. Guess what I've got?
probably nothing.
Exactly. So, but yet I know she received that email because I asked her for the list that I could send out to any of the requesters. And I finally got that after Brandy went through it and sorted out all the duplicates and county addresses, since I don't know the addresses as well as others. And so it's like, geez, so what's our financial franchise fees looking like? Can't get an answer. So I'm just sharing, folks.
I
just
like
sharing.
the way it's, monthly. The way it's in here monthly. You send a check and a list.
Yeah, it's not difficult. We get them from Duke Energy and for the utility taxes and the gas tax.
So here you want to bring this back.
so yeah, where are we on the bid?
Oh, well, they're gonna be here next week. We're gonna open that bid. And we're gonna have probably someone speaking about service.
Well, you can't bid it the way this is.
It's already been done.
Well, it's already been bid. It's gonna open them on the 25th and we'll see what we come up with.
You can send an amendment.
Well. Okay, I'll send an amendment to do it. And how do you want that amendment? Because this is what I asked when we rebid it. I got nothing from anybody. So how do you want it? You want it by the yard?
He knows what I'm talking about.
Perfect. We'll send it to me and I'll send that out to everybody.
But I think they don't, like 2 and 3 times a week, and it isn't just times 2 or times 3 for some of those, so you're still gonna have to put that in there.
No. Because I may change.
Sure.
But there's customers out there that are 4 times a week, there's 3 times, 2 times.
Then it's 4 times.
That's not the way they're being charged right now.
Another, why, that's,
Well, they got.
we can't figure out how to.
They got some kind of slide multiplier, how's that
I
work?
think that's how they're doing it.
Okay, it's on a bell curve.
That's what I said when we first asked. It's a 43% swing. That's a lot.
Yeah,
And like I said, if you're paying $90 a month, our beloved old Mexico was one that stuck out to me. They're paying $90 to $89 a month for their garbage service there, right? Now, won't they enjoy the $44 that, I mean, Brad's cutting in half for the month. That would be a shot in the arm for any, that's why I'm saying the mom and pops.
then somebody else picks that. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, so. I will send an amendment out, what John had said. I'm sorry,
That was when we were talking about asking for a best and final offer. I would have decided not to do that.
correct, so that, but yeah, send that to me tomorrow and I'll send it out to the 3 people that, 4 people cast.
So where are we at with the splash pad project? In Jerkins?
Bids are being prepared or to be being prepared to be sent out. We edited them one time and she reworked on them again today. We'll read them hopefully tomorrow, and if they look good, they should move on with moving forward. We're sending out letters and presenting to the newspaper, et cetera, et cetera.
So we don't expect that splash pad to be open in
is gonna be, if it was, it would not be on because it didn't work.
Did we get the refrigerator for Lockridge?
That one slipped my mind. What do y'all wish to, what do y'all, I know you were talking about getting a commercial style.
Yes.
What do y'all want to spend? What are y'all willing to spend? Commercial for it's not cheap.
Commercial, you're talking about 3,000 plus.
Or more. I mean, that's pretty easy.
Well, take this thing that's built in your house, gonna cost you 2,000 these days, if it's solid one.
Do we need commercial?
We talking about,
I don't want to do like that, it's really again in 2 years.
you want a refrigerator or refrigerator and freezer?
Well, they might have ice and
Yeah.
stuff, so.
How out of space do you have the food in?
Got a pretty.
That's
got a
Anthony's
pretty
gonna have to measure.
large space.
Can you put a 6 foot,
I would believe you could get away with.
like a Sub-Zero or something like that? Brand name, I mean.
Yes.
I think while you're at, we should put some tables and chairs. And put the new tables and chairs.
We need to put that in
And
the
you just
budget.
I don't know what those little white chairs are.
That's the thing, we're gonna go up on the fees with this place, we need to make sure that it's presentable for the fees that we're asking.
We didn't go up on the
We don't make
fees.
any more, the city doesn't make any more money. It's just a higher deposit that they get back.
The sort of.
Yeah, get it back.
Shift the number shift, you gotta think over here and higher there. That thing.
So we'll put that in our capital outlay.
Well, that's actually going out cheaper, doesn't it? That's how I remember, doesn't it? Mine up
'Cause you have
being up,
existing.
like, the rent's less than it was.
No, it's-
Now we're the same.
It all.
When I was 50 higher, but you get, instead of a $50 deposit, it's a $100 deposit refundable.
A little bit more incentive to clean up.
Yeah,
We
take care of
still
it.
need to get it up to par where it needs to be with matching
Oh,
everything. This place has been so neglected. We've been asking for a paint job to be put on, how long now?
That's being prepared for a bid as
It's,
well.
Okay.
it's.
And how, you know how far that is?
That is being prepared to be sent out for bid. That's one of the ones that have been prepared along with the restroom facilities at church.
Okay.
That's in this budget.
And the potential shelter for.
Yeah, and I was just gonna ask you about that too, the shelter for the park, that was on my list too.
Another refrigerator, you're looking for, like I said, you're looking for this big 6'5" freezer on one side, refrigerator on the other. Or you're
What
looking
would
for
it
a-
be to be top bottom, it really doesn't matter, we just need to count.
Man, do they have anything big enough out there to need a full size freezer? Or just the top?
Is when you have ones that rent for the entire weekend, they have like reunions. So you wanna leave some of the stuff out there to the next day.
Like that big refrigerator,
I'm gonna say, either way, you can either do that or you can do a top of bottom, the ones for home. The
I was
ones-
just asking, I know people's got, you know, a refrigerator and a freezer separated.
we probably don't need that much freezing.
I would urge the council to think about, in the instance of a disaster where we have an issue here, we could actually turn that into a way to help feed city employees as well during disaster, hurricane recovery and things like that. So if we're gonna invest in it, we need to invest in something that we can use as a city as well.
As a whole.
Does that have a generator? By chance?
I know it does not, but that would be something down the road that we probably should include.
Or
But
the
there is
top-
gas there. So, you know, a gas stove, which would help us with that, but you're right. To keep stuff cool in those incidents like I talked about, we probably want to invest in some type of generator or at least a hookup for that for anyone.
We can pull a 10K generator up, running that stuff to
Yeah.
keep it going.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I was thinking why you're doing it. Yeah, if you want to get it.
It's smart to do that. I know in the past, it's been a while, but in the past, we did feed all the city employees during one hurricane we had here, power was out for a while, out of the police department. And we were taxed at that point because we didn't have the capacity to do it. And that would be a perfect place to do that. And also if we did have to house employees after that for recovery, we got those smaller rooms that we put cots and things in too, so a generator would be a good idea.
What about Folsom Street?
Oh, I'm finna tell Sean, thank you.
There we go.
Ah.
Okay, just making sure.
Tell Sean, thank you. You got that, so at the other, did we check the other one to make sure that everything was good with it?
The other manhole, the other lid is in better shape, but it will need replacing.
Okay.
It took us 3 days. I don't know if you, I'm not sure you say that. Yeah.
You did a good job.
I appreciate it. The guys worked hard. I can't remember his name. It slips my mind, but the guy, we were right in front of his house there, you know what I'm talking
Eddie
about?
Williams.
Eddie Williams. He brought us Gatorade every day. He actually brought us sweet tea Friday. The guys really liked it. We'll try to do something for him. Just to recognize him, he's very pleasant.
Yes, he is.
We went door to door the week before. And Danielle made some flyers, looking when the road was closed. We didn't have, everybody was good with the road closed, we didn't get any complaints.
I didn't either. That was because we gave them notice. That was the big thing that they had to know that we were closed. Miss Bradley didn't call me. So I knew I was.
Is she out of town?
No.
But that was all in-house, that was all city employees, city.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I would let my nephew know about your compliments. Eddie.
Yes, like I say, he was very good to us. He has very good disposition. Like I said, we really appreciate the Gatorade because it was very hot. And he had it ice cold.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, you're welcome. And like I said, the guys appreciate it too.
Let them know that I said thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, now I got a few things, Comcast. Can we look at their contract with the city, their franchise agreement or whatever it is? Yeah, well, I really want to look at in reference to their customer service. Because it's gone from about 0 to negative numbers.
We sure had.
And,
Just like the waste pro, yeah.
I mean, I even called, I'm a fairly technical person. I've done a lot of technical work in my life, electronics and all that good kind of stuff, and I had the hardest time changing a motor the other day with them. The hardest time. They're even their little AI voice got an attitude with me, because I kept asking for customer service, and she finally said, customer service can do nothing to help you, you have to deal with me.
Oh, wow.
Now, here it went again, I was like. So, yeah. Anyway, but you can't get a hold of anybody in that robot voice will even tell you, if you get a hold of somebody, it isn't gonna make any difference. They can't do anything to help you. I've got to help you as a robot. Well, like I said, I'm fairly technical. I'm not bragging about it, just saying I am. The point is, people that aren't technical, when the world's happening to them.
We'd be crying.
Just, yeah, somebody that's not used to dealing with all this. I just like to find out what it says as
Franchise,
far as.
yeah, if we even have a franchise, we
Yeah.
do.
Contract,
But it's another one that's been rolling on for decades.
generally, it's about 30 years.
Yeah.
That's understandable, because because of the infrastructure they gotta put in, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's, some of it's starting to fall apart these days, but anyway. As far as getting a hold of somebody about some kind of phone number.
She went through this, we had a little mishap where a truck snagged a wire. And she noticed it on the side of the road, or someone misses, so she kept trying to call them and say, hey, there's a wire down.
Well, the issue we have is like our garbage trucks, if it's a low line or even the trash trucks, and they bump them and pull them lower. Or pull it down, and I try to call, be customer friendly. They tell me the customer has to call. They will not even let me report it.
And that's the AI telling you that.
No, that's.
Was it a person? Okay.
It's not,
It's crazy.
If she didn't have the account number, if she didn't have the account number, they wouldn't talk to her.
it was not a customer, I mean, most of these you're talking about are customer wires as
Exactly.
part of the
Is
infrastructure.
that right?
So,
We had one guy, he went over a week or more. And he still had to pay his bill, but they would not come out and fix his line. And still,
that's,
it's,
Common.
we don't even have a local, we should have a number we call.
yeah, that's the stories go on and on about this. But anyway, if y'all wouldn't mind checking into that, maybe we can talk about it next meeting and a little more in depth. And, something else I came across, probably behind the 8 ball on this, but fiber internet grants. Speaking of internet,
Broadband grants.
yes. They similar to what kind of Tri-County is doing, infrastructure grants, but apparently cities can get involved in them. I've heard about a few cities around here that's gotten involved in them. I was wondering if you could maybe dig into that a little bit. The city didn't actually put the infrastructure in, but the city is the vehicle to get a grant to put the infrastructure in, if I've heard correctly. I could be very wrong on that.
I thought we were included on the,
That's for the unincorporated areas.
oh,
It stops at the city limit sign, I
gotcha.
think.
Now, I have noticed that, Consolidated is putting in a lot of fiber right now. They may have been able to tap into it and use that as well.
But if we could tap in and help them further that along, that would. I'm just saying, there's any way, see if there's any way we could, further that project. Not trying to go in the internet business, that's not the point of it. The point of it is to help get the infrastructure put in to somebody else. I think I heard Cross Cities, AT&T, I think that's the phone provider. I think that's who's doing gonna be ultimately running the internet system down there, the fiber internet system. And up here, it makes sense for Consolidated because already here, they have people, you can get a hold of them, walk across the street if nothing else.
I say if they needed us, they would have walked across the street, but
But sometimes you gotta take it proactive.
never hurts to ask. Never hurts to
Yeah,
ask.
I'm just saying, I'm hearing things and I'm just saying, hey, why not throw a cast in and see what happens? Hope we don't pull up a shark. But, stop sign on Pine Street, we talked about earlier. I think FDOT came back with a 30-mile-an-hour. The Pizza Hut cut off road. They come back with a recommendation of a 30-mile-an-hour signs or something. Would there be any harm in putting a stop sign up on those rather than that curve or?
That, I don't know where it would benefit. I think if you put it there, it'll be running and not being able to see it with the blues. That's a unique intersection, the way it's saying, you've got a little park, city park right in the middle of it, this little triangle. And, it's gonna be unique and difficult dealing with that.
Be like, when on your own street.
Yeah.
So
And actually, I would hazard a guess here. And that if we had someone do a study on some of these other intersections that are 4 ways, they should not be that way. They're ineffective. If you'll sit back and watch it.
I've seen, you have seen people, well, where I used to live downtown was a 4-way, some people stopped, some people didn't.
Yeah.
Like any stop sign.
People don't even know the rules are.
Some were on the phone texting and just went through them or whatever. Anyway, so y'all's gonna put up some 30-mile-an-hour signs, is that?
We put up one, but we had to order,
Yeah.
but we only had 1 30-mile-an-hour sign. She was supposed to order some last week.
Okay, try that, see what happens.
That's an education component for the citizens or the motoring public. Because according to statute, residential areas are 30-mile-an-hour unless otherwise posted.
Exactly.
So they're 30 no matter what. And you're putting a sign up to help people, to warn people about the 30. And most of the time, people are gonna complain that they're driving too fast. But when you go out there and stand on the side of the road and you actually measure their speed, they're going 30. The
Just
closer you
seems
get
like-
to the road, the faster they seem to be going. And 30 mile an hour is pretty quick. You're talking about 46 feet per second, which is moving pretty good in the neighborhood, but it's legal to go 30 unless you reduce the speed after a survey or study.
We're gonna stick with 30 mile an hour. That's an ideal.
You know, I think you add components as you need to until you get the effect and not just throw it all out at once. Would be my suggestion.
Yeah, Oakland Road. That kind of got reset when everybody changed it out, I think, kind of like David Street.
Yeah, Ray was in discussion with the county about that. About the actual ownership of the road,
Right.
and that's the last I remember hearing about it.
He was wanting everybody to sign a hold harmless, and since the city, the county was shown as owner of record. Wanted them to sign one, I don't think they would or something like that, because they were.
You can never find a document that showed the county accepted the road. Whenever we were being told that they would give it, the road. And they have to accept it before they own it.
Right. There's nothing in the minutes anywhere saying they took it.
Nothing can be found.
And this guy's willing to fix it, right? Wasn't that what this,
It's already been fixed.
okay, he did fix it.
It's already been one into the other. It's all been paved.
And this is more about the ongoing maintenance now of that road than any.
If the garbage trucks possibly tearing it up and people getting upset about it, I think that's what it was. We were trying to get the garbage trucks to start going back down the road again and said you want to hold harmless agreements. I think all the property owners signed them.
Not sure if they, that's something that found out.
We didn't circulate them.
No, we did. It seems like.
Somebody else out there was getting them signed.
I think we got older.
Sounds right.
That's the same.
You know, is there any way to find out where we are on that, or is it just kind of lost right now? We need to start over. That's what I need to find out. Go from there. This thing's been going on. Oakland Road been going
So
on.
I can be clear, Open Road is a road that the city owns?
No.
It's been the city, county owned.
Okay,
Well, according to the
We think they own it.
property appraiser's website, the county owns it. And then the county saying, no, we don't. They deeded it to us when they were accepting it, but it's on the property appraiser's website as the county owning it. However,
Because we just can't, they can't give you something and the city or county has to accept it. Because we only be responsible for any more than we've already got, you know? And that's what they're saying is we didn't accept it.
we being the city didn't.
No, they, the county.
County did.
Okay. So the whole harmless is for the property owners and the homeowners.
So that our garbage trucks can drive on this road. It's
for years,
prob-
years, and years they were, and then I don't know who complained. Somebody did saying something about the roads getting torn up by the garbage trucks, so
She
all
complained.
the
that-
garbage trucks got moved up by Dixie Highway.
Yeah, the lady called, she kept complaining because she said all the homeowners went together to pay to have the road, Midland put on the road.
Yeah.
And that's when they had to stop it.
But millings aren't spec either.
So that's all private, so.
Right, but if they're saying the county owns it, then they're accepting something that doesn't have spec paving on it.
Well, they know, I think that they all own it. That's the reason they done it.
Well, they say on the hold harmless, I guess they're in some way admitting they bad on it.
I
So
guess.
maybe they wouldn't, maybe that's why they wouldn't sign it. I don't know.
I don't know, it's pretty weird, yeah.
Yo, just check on it. That's all.
I had a long list, construction. Flushing. Hydrants. Will you all be letting the community know what dates you will be in their area? Everybody can give dates so we Where they,
Well, I know last year, we would put it on Facebook, that's really the only
okay,
way we have it, but they didn't start this week.
The issue there was the fire department has a lot of people out at the moment, so they aren't able to start right away. I think he asked for 2 weeks before they start.
okay, my question is, will you be let the community? What area you will be flushing in?
Yeah, that's,
Everybody can't just
I
stop
will
washing.
do like I did last year, I'll go to the fire department every Monday, find out where they stop, get me a list, about 20 or so hydrants, however many they flush in the week, and I try to top the areas on Facebook.
But everybody doesn't have.
That's our. That's our, used to, we never let anybody know. I mean, we do, we just put it in the paper, we're flushing here to here, don't wash your clothes between 7 and 3 o'clock, but I know.
But the ad that was in the paper, it doesn't say where.
Yeah, that's because you can, I mean, y'all wanna pay for it, pay for it, I mean, that's the issue, is.
I don't want to be waiting. I don't want to be waiting saying, now we're gonna flush you today. And then it's 2 months before you get to my area. You said, don't wash, don't do this, don't do that. So the public needs to be aware of that. I think, anyway. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I agree. Every time flushing happens, there seems to be saying everybody washing their white stuff.
Yeah, yeah, so they need to know. Yeah. One last thing. John, I sent you an email that maybe a month ago. I want to start back having, I call it town hall, but they say workshops. I think the community needs to be their new city manager, their new city attorney. I think that, well, myself, I just see myself. I used to have them, at least not scare people.
I agree with you, 100%.
It might not be a full house, but I need permission to use leverage. That. And I need to know when you two will be available. Chief, I hope you're able to attend as well.
If I'm available, I'll be.
Yes.
I've been noticed before.
Right, I appreciate it. And
Well, I just got one thing, just by way of information. I got an email, you talking about consolidated a while ago. I got an email from Fairpoint. And it said, we're changing our policy and you need to fill this thing out. If you don't fill it out, your service will be suspended such and such a date. So I called Consolidated to see, because they were wanting my username and my password, and I'm thinking, now, wait a minute. You got my account, you know what it is. So I called Consolidated and they confirmed that it is a scam. So just putting that word out there, if y'all get an email from Fairpoint.
Miss Diana, if you run across that, your handicap number does, forward it to me.
Okay,
We
sent
deal with
it
that a lot internally with some other things, and we try to send that out about the warrant scams and everything else.
okay.
And we can help with that as well.
Okay, he asked me to forward it to Consolidated, which I did, but I'll send it to you.
They do it with power companies, any utilities. I'm surprised they have things that they
I'm
can get.
like, you know, you know what all that is. You don't need me to tell you.
Right, click on the logo, paste them somewhere else, and it's so easy to do now. Looks great.
Mr. Mayor, been this thing about over with. I'd like to present or ask you council people a PO for the night, better known as a purchase order. There's only 2 people in here not being paid tonight. That's me and the newspaper man. We'd like to be paid with all of y'all.
Aaron's trying to get.
Aaron's trying to get paid.
Ain't good nothing.
Don't.
I tried.
Bill. Let me see that. Let me see.
And Brandy, I'll pick this crap up. I'll help you.
And thank you so much.
$10, the whole thing, so, yeah. And the first I thought, oh my God, one of those leather bound deals and all that. Yeah, so. Take care, Benita. Thank you.
I got.
Last week. I said a lot of stuff. I'll ask her.
You got it. Let me know.
I'll email you, let you know. Are we signing this? That. Yeah. it needs to be
Okay.
signed
I'm
by-
gonna make sure.
by John.
Okay, here's your slide. It's so funny, I still don't have my pens with me. Oh my goodness, almost like I'm afraid to use them. Finally, there's supposed to be. Thank you, ma'am. You were gonna have a secret shirt meeting. Well, it was shorter than it.
There's a way to do that. Yeah. I'll let everybody know.
So I signed everything? It's time to go. Did you make the biscuit? I believe you. What? Ooh. Is that on top of like, is that in the frying pan? That is very true. That is very true. You were telling the truth. Have I signed everything? You like the setup?
Around the table. It's kind of these.
And good on you, Bob?
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
That.